Welcome to Give Me Hope with your host and author, Johanna. Come join the conversation as Johanna focuses on sharing impactful personal narratives of loss. Her platform provides a safe space for individuals to express themselves, find comfort, and build connections as they navigate their grief journey. So now, please welcome the host of Give Me Hope, Johanna Vendel.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna. Today, I am speaking to a very interesting author who is going to tell us about her books. I must say, I love her covers. The imagination that went into that is really good. But first, I want to just announce that my winners for the prestigious International Hope Book Awards will be announced at the end of January. So those will be the January winners. So it's just a little bit of me so that you know that everything is up and running and I am going to do well with that. Please check it out. We have Dr. Elinsky with us today. So let's welcome Alexandra.
Hey, Johanna. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me with you today. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, welcome. Welcome. I met you in Hollywood. And oh my word, you looked so beautiful.
Thank you. As did you. As did you. I loved your burgundy color dress.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Well, would you like to introduce yourself and just tell us first who is Dr. Alexandra?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Pleasure to meet you all. My name is Dr. Alexandra Elinsky. I'm from and based out of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm the CEO, owner, and founder of Empower Human Potential, LLC. We are an international executive development and leadership coaching organization serving both business and consumer clients. So, my job is to work with individuals and help them in their careers, whether they be professionals, entrepreneurs, executives, etc. I do a lot of development, coaching, and training based work. In addition to all of that,
Wow.
I am also the author of the Girl Grit Firewoman Empowerment series. It is a 5-book series targeted to women of all ages and backgrounds to provide empowerment, to produce a confident, bold, and self-assured woman. Right now, as it stands, I've got the first 3 books out there in the world on the marketplace, and I am writing the 4th book right now, which I hope will be released later this year. And then next year, I will start the final book in the series. So, book number 1 is Girl Grit, Savage Not Average. Book number 2 is Girl Game, Balls Out. And book number 3 is Girl Glow, Titan of Transformation. And I cover lots of different topics and ground in the series. So they all follow different themes and patterns. So that is a little bit about me. On the personal side, I have a 3rd grader, an 8-year-old daughter named Maxine. Yes, I love to read and write and empower people and work with people from all around the world. Thank you, Joanna.
Wow, that is a whole mouthful, hey. Wow. Very interesting. I did not know what you do, you know. That is why it is so nice to get to know people and learn more about them, you know, and get the person behind all the books, you know. It's
Yes.
always good to get to know that person and read their books and wow, that is amazing. Would you like to start to tell us how did it come that you started to write books? So before you started, you were this person, and then all of a sudden you got a feeling of wanting to write a book. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I've always been a lover of books, knowledge and information. I love school. I'm a really big nerd. And I always knew and felt deep down in my heart that I would write a book. And probably a couple decades ago, I started telling people that, someday I'm going to write my book. Someday I'm going to write my book. And I started writing a book, oh goodness, maybe 6 or 7 years ago that I didn't get very far into, maybe a few pages, because what was happening is that I had a lot of different topics in mind to write about, but I was always vacillating, right? Like, should I do this? Should I do that? And not really having any grounded clarity or really even the excitement or energy around like, this is the one, this is the topic. So back in August of 2022, about 3.5 years ago, I was on vacation by myself in Florida, floating around in the pool, kind of on a warm summer's day. And the overarching concept for the Girl Grit series just hit me. It just hit me like a dodgeball. And I was like, wow, this is it. I got all fired up. And I realized that I wanted to write, a series geared toward women that would cover a lot of common topics that can be globally and universally understood. That doesn't mean we all have the same experiences or we've all been through the same things, but I wanted to cover enough ground that would really resonate with a lot of people, right? That we share similar struggles to a greater or lesser degree. So I came home from the vacation and I started writing the first book, Girl Grit, and I was writing it very aggressively, excuse me. And I finished the first book within 5 months. And by the time I was done with that first book, I had the idea for the second book. So I started writing the second. By the time I was
Wow.
done with the second, then I started the third, right? It was like the floodgates open, right? The ideas keep
Yeah, I
coming.
know that
The
feeling,
writers
when
come.
I started to, when I
Yeah.
also started to write my books, I was like constantly just sitting in front of that computer because, when it's rushing like that, you need to
Yes.
get it out. And
Yes.
then now I'm like sitting back a little, and just focusing on a little other things after writing 5 books in 2 years.
That's
I'm
amazing.
like, okay, I need to take a break.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last note on the subject here is that for the fourth and fifth book, I have my ideas and they've come to me organically, and I knew that they would. So I'm aggressively writing the fourth book right now and just very excited about the future and kind of where this journey is going to take me because it's not every day that somebody says I'm going to write a 5 book series. It's you're an author, you know this firsthand. It's quite a large and cumbersome endeavor, whether you write one book or, 20 plus books, like
I mean,
like
especially
and
5 books,
yeah,
that is a series
yeah,
because you have to continue with that story. That must be a lot of thinking, and you must basically see the ending almost to know everything in between. That's amazing, to write the kind of books that you write. Wow. Do you want to go into the first book a little and tell us what it's about?
yeah, great question. So the first book covers a lot of different topics, where the second and third are a little bit more topic focused. So the first book is 2 parts, split in half. So part one is growing up girl, the problems we know but don't understand. So part one really digs into common problems, disturbances, and oppression that women experience exclusively because of our gender.
Hmm.
Part two is what I like to call the coaching or the education, where now that we understand the problem, we've dissected it, we've digested it, now we can get into the solution or the resolution, like the what next or the now what. And so I talk about common topics like boundaries, expectations, the role of women, masculine and feminine, relationship abuse, gender polarities, um, things like resilience,
Hmm.
bravery, building confidence, starting from zero. I talk about, abuse and oppression a lot. So
Mm.
they're very deep and heavy topics, but it's like we have to voice these things. We have to
Okay.
recognize these things, right? We have to become aware of these things because we're never going to be able to solve problems if we don't even understand what the problem is. I grew up in a time period, and I'm sure this has been going on for generations before me, where if you had a problem, you swept it under the rug, right? You acted like it didn't exist. Well, those days are gone, right? We're
Mhm.
uncovering problems and we're understanding things now so that we can build a better future and heal for ourselves and the generations to come.
Mm. Tell me, is this like a fiction or is it non-fiction books? Because
Yeah,
it sounds like you're almost talking about yourself as well, but it's fiction.
it's not fiction. I'm a
It's
nonfiction writer.
it's non-fiction. Okay, wow. Wow. I like your cover, and specifically the cover. Um, it's powerful, and I thought maybe it was a fiction. Wow, so you are a non-fiction writer.
Well,
That's
let me
interesting,
let me give
because I did not know this of you.
Yeah, that's a wonderful and fantastic observation because historically my covers align more with the fiction world. You're 100% right about that. But I'm by nature a little bit of a disruptor, and I'm not somebody that like follows status quos or norms or rules. I'm not really a conformist. So yeah, I guess in that aspect, I'm definitely breaking the rules per se. But I wanted powerful covers, and I didn't want the generic self-help cover that wasn't going to drive the impact that I wanted it to have. Because you got to think when you see a book, okay, just visually, right?
Mm,
You're captivated by the title if there's like a caption or a statement on the cover and what the cover actually looks like,
looks
right?
like, yeah,
And the
yes,
books are very, powerful and they're very deep and they go very deep and do a lot of depth. And I wanted to convey that in a way that makes sense. So yes, I'm a little bit of a
yes,
rule
yes. I
breaker.
can see,
I'm
I
okay
can
with
see that. Yes, I can see that because I can think about someone's walking past a bookshelf and all of a sudden see your book. Your books is definitely one of those that's going to stand out. Like I say, I'm really like I really like your cover. It's beautiful. I can't remember that I've actually seen your second and third book because I only know about the one that you were up for author of the year when we were in Hollywood. But that is so interesting to get to know you like that. But also, they say the personality of the person comes out on the design of the cover. And just looking at you, you are an extravagant person. You dress up beautifully, and there are so many beautiful pictures of you on social media, so I can see that you are portraying yourself in those books. That's beautiful, actually. Like I said, I had the fiction in my mind the whole time, but now that you said nonfiction, I'm like going, wow, 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 in my head. Yeah, that's really amazing to see that
that.
in your book. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely a little rule breaker over here. But you're right about that. Like I'm a
I
very
should go read it, because I'm not really a fiction reader.
okay.
Um, I I I like to read stories about people and about what happened in their lives and what did they do to transform their lives. But
Hmm.
now it makes me very interesting in picking up your book. You see, it's a good thing when people speak like this, because I'm just not a fiction reader because I'm like so serious about life, and life is short and things happen and you lose people and you realize how life is. So,
Oh yeah.
wow, I'm
I'm with you.
interested.
Yeah, I'm not a fiction reader either. And yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to confuse readers, right? Like that's not the objective. But if they read the back or have any sort of, summary of what the book's about, you can easily see that it's more in alignment
Yes.
with nonfiction, self-help, self-empowerment, plus those are the
Yes.
tagged on the internet. So yeah, a little digging will give you that clarity. But
Yeah. I
I'm a
mean, and we didn't really speak much at the Hollywood gala because there was just so many people that we wanted to see and meet and things like that. And then we didn't even sit close to each other, so we couldn't really get to know each other this well. But wow, I am so glad that I got you on my podcast to hear this today. It's impressive. Wow.
I appreciate
Wow.
your kind words and feedback. It means a lot to me, Joanna.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go in and tell us a little more about what happened then when you started to write the second book? Tell us a little more about yourself. Blow me away.
Just blow you away. Yeah, yeah. I'm a very, to your point from a couple minutes ago, I'm a very passionate and animated person. I feel like I have a lot to say and I'm pretty fearless. So I'm not afraid to be bold. I'm not afraid to debate. I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind. I'm not afraid to stand up for others. And my name, Alexandra, it actually means defender. And that is like my personality. I really am a warrior, like for myself, for self-empowerment, because I've, been through a lot and I've overcome a lot, but also in the same light
Yeah.
for other people, right? We have to pass on that hope. We have to pass on that strength. We have to pass on that healing. And I'm not sure if study or write about spiritual gifts. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But I am a healer,
Yeah.
and I am a healer through words. I'm a healer through presence. So I like to think of my books and
Yes.
my series when someone's reading it and it's a topic that they can actually, relate to in some capacity, that they're getting some level of healing, and that through that reading that they are having resonance to feel seen and heard and validated, because they may have been through something that they've never been able to share or that they've never been able to talk about with anyone. And maybe they
Mm.
just feel very unseen and very invalidated. And I want to give them hope and impact and strength through my books, because I'm not an advocate of like healing through, medication or drugs or alcohol or substances. I'm an advocate through healing through experience and then extrapolating the learning. So I give a lot of, anecdotes. I give a lot of examples of my life and other people's that I've interviewed for the book series. And what I do is I integrate those things and I synthesize them across layers of topics. But if you notice, the second and third book, well, you'll see the covers later. You'll notice a theme, right? So in book one, she's literally walking through hell. So this girl, she's an archetype. Her name's Firewoman. She's walked through hell, right? She's been through things. She's suffered. She's been oppressed quite a bit. Book two actually goes several layers deeper than book one into the unconscious mind, going back decades to like, where did the problem start? Did the problem start when you were 30 years old, or did it start when you were 3 years old? So in book
Mhm.
two, I dig a lot into childhood and early
Mm.
conditioning and early programming and how our childhood shapes our experiences and who we are, right? Our earliest relationships with our parents and how that translates to maybe our friendships and romantic relationships and relationships with our bosses as adults. Okay, so that's book two. And then you'll notice in book three, that is the most, I would say the most inspirational book in the series, because now she goes from heaven and on the cover I'm sorry, book one, she's in hell. Book three, she's in heaven. She's among the
Okay.
angels. So book three is focused on power and spirituality. So I integrate power and spirituality to really empower people. But I do talk a lot about spiritual themes. So I use, spiritual texts, what they would call like almost like different religious texts,
Mm.
and talk about, angels and archangels and spiritual guides and, different psychological and philosophical tools, vocabulary words, methodologies, steps, again, to accentuate that level of self-advocacy and agency and really just navigating very murky waters of life. Because as women, and I'm going to
Mm.
focus on women, I'm not going to focus on any other marginalized groups, but we have experienced oppression to greater or lesser degrees, right? And in order to really heal and understand and overcome, we have to get to those root causes, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then I, talk about broader topics like finances, money, career, goals, living your legacy, bigger topics like what's your purpose, what's your mission, what brings meaning to your life. So I try to get very granular, but then by the end of the series, really connect the dots and bring it all together to establish that sense of fluidity.
Wow. Well, you just asked me earlier
Yeah.
what I know about healing and spirituality and things like that. Personally, I am a medical massage therapist, so I heal with my hands,
Yeah.
But what do people do when they come for massages? They come to de stress. And I am not a psychiatrist, but believe me, I have heard many stories. And they stand up and they feel so much better after I massaged them and sometimes massage those pains away, but the pains that is in the heart, you know,
Yes.
and spirituality. I believe in dreams and messages and things like that, and empowerment of women. That is so big. And then the hope. That is why who I am today is Give Me Hope with Johanna, because um, I know what it is to go through many things and stand up at the end of the day and be hopeful, but
Yes.
be hopeful so that other people can receive the hope through your words. Wow, I am impressed. I'm impressed that your books are about that. Wow, it makes me just want to read it now, because yeah, I don't know. I don't think you know me that well either.
We are learning about
Uh,
each other in a deeper dive.
yes, that's
I
what
do
it's all
follow you
about,
and I see your books and I just love your powerful message, and how you're like, I mentioned healing people with words or the voice. You mentioned healing with your hands, and both are equally important because it's like their stress, right? Their pain, it lives in their physical body. And when you're
Yes,
massaging them, it's like you're pulling it out, right? Like you're pulling their pain away.
yes.
And they're done and
Because
they feel that,
energy
right?
flows, the
Yes.
energy flows through your hands. And
Right.
if I must think in my head the whole time, oh, I don't, my boyfriend and I had a fight, and and I'm massaging. Do you know that all of those thoughts and all of that energy
Mm.
flow will go into that people, and they will stand up and they'll feel even worse, So I'm very, very strict when it comes to that, because I am trained for more than like 30 years in massage therapy and gone to Paris. I became a trainer for 5 years where I taught people how to massage. And I was like, really, I'm strict when it comes to when you touch someone and you make them feel better, make sure that your energy is right. And that is maybe I'm just a positive person since I was born. I don't know if you live into it or become positive or whatever, but I've always had this positive energy and want
Mm.
to just do good for other people. I'm a server.
Yes.
I think God uses us to serve people sometimes through our message and through our words,
Yes.
and that's where the spirituality comes in. And no, I am very, very strong when it comes to things like that. Um, so now you can tell me a little bit more about book two and dive in a little deeper so we can learn more about it so we can get the people to purchase your book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great, great, great points about God. And I think when I think about like why we're here, why any of us even exist, my personal motto is to bless and to serve others. And the cool thing about that, whatever your mission
Mm.
is that God will bless you with gifts and talents. And those gifts and talents are the channel, right? They're the energy that you as a vessel permeate throughout the world and bless people. So you and I as authors, we do that through our books, our writing. You do it through your massage. I also do it through my business, so whatever that method, that channel is. So you asked a
Mm.
little bit more about book two, and book two is really a source for understanding pain and particularly emotion, right? Because we have an emotional world and they can be very painful and
Mhm.
often hidden because, past generations taught people to suppress and hide pain. So now we're just beginning to understand like what is pain? What is emotion? What do we do with that? How do we communicate? And how does that affect our relationships and how we enact in the world? I will also add that book two is a heavy, heavy deep dive into transformational healing, like a complete psychological, emotional, mental transformation, which I've personally experienced. I used to be a pretty big victim. Even specifically, I call myself a former glutton for punishment, just a martyr, a self-sacrificer, a person that lacked boundaries, a people pleaser, right? And that's part of that early conditioning and programming. And through these steps, through these processes, through this teaching, through this self-discovery, I've unlearned all that, right? And I've relearned other things that work. So there is a heavy emphasis on healing. And really, what I kind of tell the readers is like, go away if you have to. Either go on vacation to do it, lock yourself in a room, curl up in a ball in a fetal position, cry your eyes out, scream your head off, fight with a
Mm.
tiger, literally do whatever you have to do to purge the emotion because when you're crying, you're healing. When you're feeling, you're healing, right?
Yes,
Call it in the
correct.
I call it in the book an emotional exorcism. And I recommend
Mm.
having, as many emotional exorcisms as you need to
Mm.
until you get to that place of ultimate peace and ultimate transformation and ascension. And that's where the connection to book three comes in. And I'll pause in case you have another question about any of that.
Yes, I was just listening to everything, and we were just speaking to someone else the other day as well. How
Mm.
some things sometimes have to happen to us to realize that we need to change, we need to live for the better. Um, so that is very interesting to hear it from your perspective as well, because it's big. People go through so many phases in their lives. And when they get to this specific phase, you realize if I don't do something about my life now, I
Yeah.
am not going to end up at a good place.
Yeah.
But before you continue, we will take a short break and then we will be back shortly.
Welcome, authors of hope. Your stories matter, your voices heal, your courage inspires. Together we rise, we write, and we change lives.
Every book begins with a story, but not every story is seen. The prestigious International Hope Book Awards were created to honor authors who write with purpose, courage, and heart stories that heal, inspire, and give hope to others who need it most. When you sign up, your work is not just entered into an award, it is welcomed into a global movement that values impact over popularity and meaning over trends. Authors benefit from international recognition, prestigious award credentials, professional certificates and seals, elevated visibility, and the opportunity to be honored, alongside voices that are changing lives through storytelling. Most importantly, your message is amplified, reaching readers, communities, and platforms beyond the page. Because your story matters, your courage matters, and the hope you share deserves to be recognized.
Welcome back. And we were busy speaking to Alexandra about her books. Alexandra, you can continue. We were at the end of your second book. So if you want to go into your third book and tell us more about that one.
Yeah, absolutely, Joanna. Thank you. So, like I mentioned previously, book three, central topic is power and spirituality. And I'm a psychologist. I'm a business psychologist. I'm also a very philosophical person, and I'm also
Oh.
I'm familiar with religious language, like world religious language. I mean, I have some limitations, as we all do, but I'm a pretty well-read person, and so. What I do with book three, like I said, it's the most inspirational book in the series. It's really meant to kind of bring the first two sorted together and really elevate. And one of the central themes in book three is the purpose of suffering, but leveraging pain and suffering, particularly trauma. So I have a section
Mm.
on something that I call, advice to trauma babies. And how I determine trauma babies is somebody who has experienced trauma before the age of 18 and then is carried with them throughout their life. Because when you experience trauma, especially when in a young age when you're very vulnerable, what happens is I hate to say this, but you kind of become a magnet for trauma. So if you experience trauma as a child, you're more likely to experience it as a teenager and an adult. And that's just, psychology basically. And so I
Mm.
developed a process or a methodology for, step by step, actually very kind of analytical for overcoming horrific trauma that I delineate in book three. And so the purpose in book three, given the power, given the spirituality, is to leverage that trauma, that suffering as your friend to transcend it and to become your highest self. Now you've heard buzzwords like manifestation, right? Making your dreams come true, that sort of stuff that's like
Mm.
all over the internet. I tie all of that together. And basically, my thesis is you don't have to come from anything. You don't have to come from privilege or opportunity because you create the privilege and opportunity. You become the privilege and
Oh, I believe in that.
yeah. So I talk about things, some topics like celebrity coaching, wealth building, goals, daily success habits. I talk a lot about, relationships, like romantic relationships, because, as a child, your main relationship is your parents or primary caregivers. And then in adulthood, your primary relationship is with your children
Mhm.
and your spouse, partner, significant other. So those fundamental relationships, what I call them, are just paramount in our lives, right? Where they're in our orbits, they're revolving around us all the time, and we have to be able to navigate and handle and deal with and have strategies and
Mm.
structure, right? And kind of know what you're
Mm.
doing. Again, book three
Yeah.
covers a lot of different topics, but it is centralized. Now, book
Oh.
four is going to be literally about money. It's going to be about the the psychology, and it's not necessarily about how to make money because there's like thousands of books out there about that, but it's more about the psychology and the philosophy of money from, of course, my perspective because I'm the author and I'm the one. And I'm someone who is pretty perceptive. Like I'm
Mm.
an observer. I'm very self-aware. I kind of watch other people. I watch the larger world, right? That's just par for the course in being a psychologist. So I try to notice patterns and themes in society that people feel, that I see, that are told to me through language, and then articulate that. So it's going to have a little bit more of a
Wow.
focus, but more so from a psychological and philosophical perspective. Because I would say that the backbone of my work is pretty spiritual, but also psychological and philosophical. And I use lots of different kind of definitions and keywords to really like educate and self-educate people. And I do write from a very academic lens, but I also write from a very friendly and conversational lens so that it's not over anyone's head, but that it's
Mm.
still kind of universally digestible and it's like friendly and approachable and non-threatening at the same time. Like people have the feedback that I have gotten from my readers and from reviews and stuff is that it feels like I'm sitting next to you when you're reading my book, my arms around you, and I'm saying, there, it'll be okay. And I'm listening to you like girlfriend to girlfriend kind of thing. So,
Wow. That is very interesting, because again, money, it's they say money is the point of evil or something like that. I'm not sure what the English word is for
The
that
love of
really.
money is the root of all evil. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly that, and but if you don't have money either, you are unhappy, you fight about the bills, and you're just not focused on life, and it feels like you can't keep your head above water and things like that. So money is important, but also you must earn it the right way.
Yes, and I have very interesting takes on all of that and really like empowering people through the beliefs and the psychology of money, what it is, what it means to us, and how we can use and leverage it as a tool effectively to not just heal, empower ourselves, right? Which is what my whole series about self-empowerment, but also
Mhm.
others, to your point, like serving, blessing, educating other people and helping them as well.
Yes, wow. You really have an interesting story there, and I'm looking forward to hear even more about book five. See what you come up with. But this is amazing to hear more about you and how you empower people to also be the best of themselves, because that's where we stay hopeful. Is
Yes,
if we
absolutely.
can empower those people, just to encourage them to get up in the morning and let's do another day. I also heard
Yes.
from someone else the other day, many of us pray, oh no, actually I read it in one of the people's books that I was just reviewing there, and he said something like he used to always pray in the
Mhm.
evening, but how will his prayer go? It will be going like, God, forgive me for what I did today, or um, I spent so much money in the casino today, or something like that. But when you start the day off with
Mhm.
God,
Yeah.
your
Amen.
prayer goes completely different. Your prayer goes something like, God, please lead me to make the best decisions for today, or treat people the way I should be treating them, and things like that. And that impacted me also quite a lot, because I pray the whole day almost. I wake up and I'll like have a short prayer and speak to God and things like that. But life is so interesting, when you look at all these different aspects of life and what you are now talking about, it just stirs up a few things in me, that it brings out. But it's amazing to think about things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because everybody has different experiences and everybody has a story. And it's like before we're born, we've chosen this path, often riddled with difficulty. But it's the
Mm,
lessons, it's the experience, it's the skill building and the resiliency, the hope. And God, everybody
mm,
has a little bit of a different interpretation of God or the higher power. That's the guide. That's the facilitator. That's the one living and breathing through us and the mission that we've been called to do. And I believe in callings. I'm a prayer warrior. I pray multiple
mm,
times a day. I lean on
mhm.
God, and I'm somebody that I don't, come from anything. I really don't. But God, through the power of God, through me, has given me every single thing that I need to help others,
Yes,
internally, right? Those intrinsic skills, that intrinsic values. It's not something that you can touch. Like in book three, I talk about being the wealthiest girl in the world, but it's not monetary wealth. It's not possessions and materialism. It's wealth of the mind, it's wealth of the
yes,
spirit, it's wealth of the passion, it's wealth of the message, it's wealth of the drive. It's the intrinsic, intangible wealth that God has given to every single person and has truly empowered us. But most people don't recognize that. Most people don't
yes.
cultivate their power because they are afraid. They've been oppressed, they've been suppressed, they've been bullied, they've been abused, and they just don't feel like they have any voice.
Yes, and that they then don't believe in themselves. And
Correct.
that is where the self-love comes in.
Yes.
Because if you don't love yourself and you look in the mirror every day
Mm,
and you see a person that you don't like, because remember, God made us in his image.
right.
Okay,
Amen.
so every single one of us looks different, but
Hmm.
you have something unique in your look, and that is why he made you that way. So
Yes.
when you look in the mirror in the morning and you don't like what you see, your rest of the day is not going to go well.
Yes.
Because how is someone else going to like you and want to speak to you and want to help you empower yourself if you
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in yourself? You
Amen.
know, it definitely all starts with yourself. Doesn't matter what you do, choices you make in life, things like that, it all starts with yourself.
Yes, Joanna, I completely 100% agree with you. And in book two, I talk about that point, talking about the self-love and the self-worth. And one of the things that I say, and I'm probably going to butcher this, it's not going to be a direct quote, but if you don't love yourself, if you don't respect yourself, if you don't appreciate yourself, if you're like disempowering yourself or just feeling bad, you're actually
Mhm.
like mocking God and slapping God in the face and telling him that, you created something so beautiful, but it's worthless.
Yeah.
It's an insult to God. So
Yes.
it's really about holding up that mirror, like you said, and recognizing what you see. And I used to be somebody who, like, I didn't grow up with low self-esteem. I grew up with no self-esteem. That's why I'm an empowerment coach, why I'm a self-esteem
Mm.
guru, because I knew that how can I empower people? How can I talk about self-worth, empowerment, and self-esteem unless I know what it's like not to have
Mm.
it?
Yes.
What does that
Yes.
building process look like? And what does that becoming process look like? And what do you have to go through? What do you have to experience? And what do you have to realize to get to where you need to be, where God has called you to be?
Yes.
Because we're going to be
And
beaten down by the world. We're going to be beaten down by other people.
mm,
But as long as we don't beat ourselves down, then God can strengthen that and use that.
definitely, I agree. And also the mirror, we are so quickly to say, yes, but this person and that person is doing this and this to me, and life is not
Mhm.
going well. You know, again, look in the mirror because you shouldn't blame other people if
Yes,
things does not go well in your life. Again, it is the choices you make,
right.
because if your choices are good, you're not going to have those people that
Mhm.
is talking bad about you or saying things about you or making sure that you don't do good in your life or something like that. You always have to speak good about other people, because what you speak to others, if it's bad, it's going to come back to you. You always have to try to stay um like honest, if I can say something like that. Oh my word, this is like so amazing to speak like this with you, especially knowing that you also believe in things like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing to know that you're not the only one thinking like that
Mhm.
sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes.
Wow. Well, if any of you would like to purchase Alexandra's books, the links of all her books will be down below in the description. So please go follow her, purchase her books, and let's help to support one another out there. Alexandra, do you have anything else that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Listeners, thank you so much for listening and being open to discussion and thought and healing and hope. It's an honor. And if you'd like to connect with me personally, please send me a direct message. I would love to connect with you. As a writer, author, I'm really big into feedback. Feedback's very important to me. So feel free to share your feedback with me. And Joanna, thank you so much for having me be your special guest today on the podcast. I'm honored. I'm so glad we finally got to make this happen and connect and learn more about each other and our similarities and writing and just beliefs and stuff like that. So I'm
Yes.
very honored and thank you so much for all the work that you do to elevate authors and elevate voices and just your amazing program. And I wish you so much success in your endeavor with the podcast and your new book awards and just I'll always be rooting for you and championing you in the background.
Thank you so much. It is really nice to know that someone believes in what I do, because
Yes.
like we earlier said, it's all about that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's
Well,
true.
thank you so much for making the time to come tell your story. I really appreciate you being here today. And I pray you will sell many books from this podcast, that people will just be so intrigued and say, oh, I want to go buy that book. Go click the link below here. You'll find it right there. It's easy. Just click the link. Well, thank you, Alexandra, for being here today.
Thank you, Johanna. Bye-bye.
So that was Dr. Alexandra Elinsky. Very interesting. I really did not know this about her books. Like I say, I am now completely excited to go pick up her books and read more about that story. So if you can walk away with something today, is don't judge a book by its cover. Treat people with love. Treat them the way that you would like to be treated. And God will just be good for you in your life. I will be back next week speaking to a gentleman. He's a pastor and he has written his books, and he will come and tell his story about his books and how he started to write the book that he's going to tell us about. I hope to see you next week again. Follow me, share, and if you want to hear more of these stories, speak about it and get other friends to follow as well, because you never know who needs to hear a story. You never know who's heartbroken or who needs to just hear a hopeful story. So have a good day, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
This has been Give Me Hope with your host, Johanna Vendel. Join Johanna each week and harness the transformative power of storytelling to facilitate healing and growth. Wednesdays, 11 a.m.